Thank you, Karuna Karen. That is so delightful.
Yes, thank you. And hello, everyone. Good morning. Or
Yes,
good evening.
indeed.
Wherever you are in the world.
I do
Are you,
hope
do you happen to be in,
what?
do we have a
What?
lag? Yeah, we have
I
a
don't
lag. I'll drop off and come
no,
back.
start over. Wait. Say say one. Joey.
Hello.
Joey.
Yes. Well, say it again.
Joey.
Yes.
Yeah, not much. It's less
Okay.
than a
All
second.
right. Okay.
Not
All
clear
right.
about it. Okay.
I was trying to ask you if we're going to say some hellos, but are you in StreamYard or in YouTube?
I'm in both.
We're going to say some hellos, but are you in StreamYard or in?
I'm in both.
Well, when we get to it, Greg the guppy guy, who I don't know why doesn't have his wrench, we need to give him back his wrench. Anyway, all right. So let's say some hellos. You starting?
No, go ahead. Go
Okay.
for it.
Well, Levi looks like he was first, and then Fish and Tactics was here, and then Roman, and Amanda is here, and then Glassbox Fox, Paul C, D3V, and Jeff's Tanks. And good morning, Broadcast Illusions, Thomas, Michelle, Jean, One Wanderer. David Fellows is here. Daniel Gonzalez. Greg the Guppy guy's here.
He's got his
and
wrench.
Lori, Monster Fish Gal. Oh, good. My sister Steph is here. TJ's New Life. Oreo. Nate Hendrickson. David Fellows. I think I already said that.
Karuna
Karen. Shane T. Falconry Fun. And I don't know if you see anybody that I'm missing. Chevy Fish is here.
Donald Drew.
Donald.
Monster Fish
Yes,
Cow.
hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Good morning, Wendy.
Wendy 70.
I tried not to miss anyone. And if I did, I'm so sorry. Good morning, Tree 77. So anyway.
Got a question for you. At 9:05. Yeah, Wendy 70-ish.
Okay.
The goldfish are dying of microbacterium. How did she prevent that?
Well, I would say you're famous. Stop feeding them. And then I would do a water change. I would stop feeding them for a day or two. And then, I mean, you can medicate the water if you feel the need to. But I would start with a water change, and I would start with, laying off the food for a couple days and trying to clear out the water. That's where I would start. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, the problem, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. The problem is
Yeah.
excessive bacteria in the aquarium. And excessive bacteria
Yeah.
is always brought on by excess nutrients. Excess nutrients are always a function of overfeeding. So those things are linked together in an absolute relationship. You know, when I get on the kick about overfeeding, it's because overfeeding is the number one problem by a factor of 10 for people who are having trouble in their tanks. Overfeeding is always, virtually, always the problem. Everybody does it. Most people doing it do not believe they're doing it. I don't overfeed. They eat everything I put in there. Well, duh, that's not the issue. The issue is not whether or not they eat it. The issue is whether or not you're feeding them more than the biological system of that aquarium can cope with without becoming bacterially laden. So think of it that way. You're trying to create a bacterial desert, if you will. Trying to create an environment in which there is not an excess of bacteria. How do you know if there's an excess of bacteria? Well, that's a really difficult question to answer. Obviously, if you're having disease issues or if the water is murky, then that's typically a problem of excessive bacteria resulting from overfeeding. The best way to do it is to feed less and less each day. Here's a little thought experiment. I don't suggest you do this, but think about this and find a way to apply it. Feed half of what you now feed every day. Tomorrow, feed half of what you fed today. The day after that, feed half of that. Do that for a week, say, and then keep it at that level. And then watch the fish and see how they react to it. Are they healthy? Are they still swimming around? Are they busy and active? If they are, then you are now at that point feeding them an adequate amount. What I would do then, if that works out fine and that's adequate, feed them less again. Do that again. Feed half again, and then half, and then half, and then half. Do that for another week and see how they react. What you will discover if you have a balanced tank, a deep substrate, a lot of plants, adequate light, that plant will generate and the critical end is small fish. This works best with small fish. It doesn't work well with big fish. Big fish have to be fed unless you've got them in something so massive that it is able to generate larger protozoan, larger microscopic creatures, or that you can feed larger protozoan like worms or Daphne or mosquito larvae or whatever. But if you have small fish an inch, 2 inches in your tank, feed less and less. If they're fine, feed less again. If they're fine, feed less again. Get it down to the point where you're not feeding at all. Excuse me. You're not feeding at all for an extended period of time, maybe for a week. Your fish should remain healthy, happy, and vigorous. If they are, then the tank is providing adequate food for them. And that is as it should be. That's the goal. The goal is to create a balanced environment in which everything works to support everything else, including the fish that are living in the tank. You can do this. It really does work. Try it.
And but I'm
Correct.
still gonna say, Father Fish, for her situation where she's losing fish right now, I think the water change and maybe not feeding for a day or two, and then moving on with your system would be a good idea. That's my opinion, because she's having some major
Yeah,
issues right this minute.
you need to get that bacteria out of there. Try also siphoning the bottom, add a little more sand
Yes.
to it. Try to cap whatever residual waste is sitting on the bottom of that tank. Siphon it out first. Don't plunge it, just what's on the surface. And then add a little more sand to it, perhaps another half inch. Do a if you can do it, do a 50% water change 2 or 3 days in a row. That will get control of the bacteria. That coupled with
That's what I would.
cleaning, siphoning the bottom well, a thorough siphoning, adding a little more sand to cap it, and then cutting the food down. Do not feed it all during that process. And then when you do start feeding, you want to feed substantially less than you had been feeding.
Right. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, Jeff says, guess we should strive for the least amount of food to keep our fish healthy. That's right, Jeff. That's exactly right. In the wild, fish are not gluttons. They may act like gluttons, but there is little, if any, gluttony. That is to say, they don't find adequate food to be able to fill their bellies every hour on the hour. A fish,
Yeah.
a small fish processes its meal in 2 hours. In 2 hours, it's in, processed, and out. 2 hours. Which means, of course, that a substantial portion of that is not adequately processed. And so the food that is pooped out as waste is re-eaten by that fish or other fish or other kinds of other kinds of animals in the tank. It's re-eaten, it's eaten, it's processed over and over again until the food value is used up. And in point of fact, if you use the food in its broadest sense, when it's brought down to the point of uh, of of absolute waste, that waste itself is food for the plants. So it cycles. It remains nutrition throughout the entire cycle of every living thing in the tank. The plants produce plant matter, which is edible. They and much of what the plant is consumed by is microscopic creatures. Microscopic animals live on the leaves of the plants. If you can get a little microscope right on the leaf of a plant, you'll see all kind of little animals um, crawling around on the leaves and stems. They're feeding on the sugars and waste products and whatever else are growing on those plants, and they then become food for your fish. So it is a real cycle, and it really does work. It really does happen. One of the absolute joys of keeping fish is seeing them survive in this little glass box you've got with little or no intervention at all on your part. Strive for that. Don't strive for, I got to feed my fish every day. No, you don't have to feed your fish every day. Point of fact, if you're feeding your fish every day, you're creating a mucky mess that's going to make your fish sick. Don't do that.
Wendy, you added in that you have large goldfish, and I don't know if you have fancy goldfish or I keep mostly single-tail goldfish, but just keep in mind if they're fancy goldfish, their whole digestive system has been compacted, so they do not digest as well as a single-tail goldfish. So whatever you're feeding, I know they're large and you need to feed them smaller amounts, maybe once or twice a day, spread it out. Don't give them one big meal that they can't digest. That also causes problems and other issues. So just keep that in mind with them. The smaller meals, maybe, twice a day would be better than one large one, if that's how you're going to proceed. Falcon Refund says they've noticed their dwarf gouramis is eating the new root growth off the Java fern.
Right.
I don't know how much they're eating. I don't know if they're eating enough to kill it.
A lot of
I'm
interesting.
just curious if that's normal. Is that normal? I don't know. Do you feel that's normal?
What are you talking about?
Well, he's wondering about the dwarf gouramis eating the root growth. Is that normal off the Java fern? Is that a normal behavior?
Well, it depends on the gourami, but yeah, I would guess so. It's a food source.
Right.
There are fish, larger fish, gouramis, cichlids, that eat plants. We all know of fish that eat plants. They're hard to keep with plants because you wind up having to get plants that are a lot hardier, a lot coarser, thicker,
right,
sturdier. The soft plants are going to get eaten up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Good. We've had a few other people come in. I see Holly's has come in. Good morning, Holly. Good morning, Master Black. I'm sure there's some other people that have come in that missed Mr. Manifesto.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. How long? And the other thing I'm going to just butt in and add here, when Father Fish is talking about his feeding program, that's just to maintain your fish. If you are breeding your fish and doing something different, then obviously you need to feed your fish. They need to be, fed properly so you can get them in the condition to breed, and you're going to feed your fry. He's just talking about, tanks that you have mostly, as your fun tanks as display. That's, I think, more what you're referring to.
Yeah, the community.
Basic.
Community display.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're specializing in breeding, that's a different thing. And he knows that too.
For example, with baby fish have to be fed. That if you depend on the natural food occurring even in a well-established tank for your babies, you're not going to get very many of them. And the reason is that babies don't have any reserves. If they don't eat every couple of hours,
right,
they die. They have to have continuous food for weeks, not months, but weeks, in order to get them up to the point where they begin storing fat. Until they start storing fat, they cannot survive by not eating. So, babies have got to be fed. Babies have got to be fed consistently. Also, if you're trying to get your fish to breed, they will do so in a natural environment, but they will do so infrequently. It'll be maybe once a year, twice a year. If you want them breeding more frequently, you've got to feed them heavily to do that. And the best way to do that is not in your regular community tank. You take them out, take out the pair, if you will. Take them out, put them in a separate tank that you can control, typically, preferably, a bare bottom tank. If you're going to be feeding very heavily, do it in a bare bottom tank. That way you can keep it clean, because you're going to get a buildup of food, excess food in there. You got to be able to take it out every day. You got to be able to siphon that bottom daily. Um, so it's a lot more maintenance to do that. The the
Mm-hmm.
the cold tank that I talk about is a maintenance free community tank that will be able to maintain a given selection of fish, and it can be a lot of fish. I know some people on the fish channels claim that my system only allows for a very few fish. That's not true at all. Your tank can be absolutely full of fish, so long as it is also absolutely full of plants and has a deep, rich substrate that will, a 10-gallon tank, a 10-gallon tank will support 100 neon-sized fish loaded with plants and a 3-inch substrate indefinitely. Don't tell me 100 fish in a 10-gallon tank is something that you are likely to even try. You're not limited by this system to a specific number of fish. Not at all. Important fact, and I think I've said this over and over, the more plants you have, the more fish you can have. If your tank is absolutely loaded with plants, you can absolutely load it with fish. Put some guppies or other live bearers in there and see how they multiply and see how many you wind up with. In a 20-gallon tank, you'll wind up with 500 fish before it reaches a climax. Now, it will reach a climax population. It'll reach a point where it won't grow beyond that. It'll stay relatively at that number. You won't find a lot of new babies. You won't find females getting pregnant. It will achieve an apex, climax position where it won't continue to grow. Even the plants won't continue to grow. Try to get to that level. It will stay there. It will stay stable at that level indefinitely. We haven't talked much about that.
Um, yeah. Hi, Tisha and Tron. Master Black says, how long should I keep the water of the aquarium at 86 degrees when having EC? A week?
Just a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. You should leave it there until you see the difference, until you see the fish cleaning up. It doesn't take long, just a day or two, really.
Right.
If you keep it there 2 or 3 days, that's adequate. You can keep it a week, but you don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure they're cleared up, and then just turn the heater down and let it drop naturally, and keep it then at 82. 82 is a good stable temperature.
Now, Master Black adds an interesting statement below, who just asked that question. It says, talking to David, but David Fellows, I believe that my shrimp will eat the fallen ick on the substrate. I've read that shrimp will eat fallen ick somewhere. I mean,
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, it's
Sure
parasite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never really thought about it. Yeah. That would be a good thing.
Yeah, Amanda May saying that she was watching some other fish channel saying that we have to quarantine new plants. We talked about quarantining last night. Do what you please. If you want to do it, do it. My experience with plants is that by the time you buy them, they have been out of soil. They've been quarantined, in effect, for upwards of a month. They are starving for nutrition. If you continue that process another week or two, there's a good chance they're simply going to die. I don't personally see the value of a lot of quarantining. I think I think it's done overzealously. Most shops that get fish in that are imported, I would always quarantine those fish. I never buy imported fish. That is to say, I never buy fish from a foreign shipper. I buy fish from local wholesalers that quarantine their fish when they come in. And they buy them typically from importers that quarantine their fish when they come in. So I'm getting fish that not only were quarantined at the source, but also when they were received into the country by the transshipper and then by the wholesaler. And I get them, they've been quarantined 3 times by the time I get them. I don't fool with quarantining. Now, if I'm buying fish from somebody who's collecting them and shipping them in Brazil and shipping them directly to me, yeah, I'm going to quarantine that fish. I never buy those fish, though. You know, fish like that I will buy from Old World Fisheries, for example, in Homestead, Florida, where they do extensive quarantining. I don't need to, and you don't need to. If you get a sick fish, quarantine it, absolutely. But if it's a healthy fish, if you can look at it and you see it's a healthy fish, put it in your tank. It needs to have a chance at being in a stable, healthy environment. It has been struggling now for weeks before you get it just to stay alive. It hasn't been fed. It hasn't been kept in decent water. It's been in very rough, difficult circumstances for a week or 2 weeks or upwards of a month. Give it a break. Put it in something that is nice, that it can thrive in, that it can be healthy in. It'll be fine. Blackout method to
And
deal with algae. Yeah.
right. I guess I'll still add that, it's still do what is your comfort level. If that's what you feel you need to do, do what you can live with.
Don't be, yeah, well, that's fair. Don't be panicky about it, though. I mean, don't be, oh my God, I've got a new fish.
Right.
It's got 1,000 diseases. I have to
Right.
cure it before I put it in my tank. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. Don't be panicky about the fish you buy. Just get them from a reputable place. Don't get them from a big box store that doesn't care about how they keep them, that are going to be sick anyway. Get them from a rep, and if you have to ship them in, be careful who you buy from. Buy from somebody you can trust, or somebody who at least has a good track record.
If that's possible, and if your only choice is a box store, then use your own judgment. I think we have a lag, Father Fisher. There's something going on. I don't know if it's a lag. Maybe I should drop off and come back.
I don't think we do, but if you're comfortable doing that.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. It's just you're talking and I don't hear any volume. I can see you talking, but I don't hear anything for a little bit. So I thought.
Oh, let me post a link.
Okay.
Go for it.
We've had a couple new people. Okay.
Martin Tran is asking a question. He asked as a comment on a video, and I need to deal with it. I haven't dealt with him on the video yet, but I will do that right now. Let's see. And I can't find it all of a sudden. There it is. I've recently made a deep sand substrate and came across something interesting. I pulled up some plants and moved them around and saw that some of the roots were black. Is this bad? Yes, it is bad. It also is avoidable. Now, what you have done with a brand new, a brand new deep substrate, what you have is soil that is percolating. You're getting a lot of chemical reaction down there. There's a process of chelation that needs to go on, in which it will resolve itself and it'll kind of smooth itself out and everything will be stable. It takes a little while for that to happen, upwards of a month for that to happen. In the process of that happening, it generates heat and a lot of chemical process, such that if there are roots down in that, they could burn off. The solution, if you've got 2 inches of sand capping that, and you should have at least 2 inches of sand, put the root down 1 inch into the sand, no further. If you put it further down in, it'll have a tendency to be burned by those by that chemical process that's going on. That clarifies in about a month that it won't happen anymore. But in that first month, it's an issue. So plant 1 inch down. What the roots will do is they will find nutrition. They'll go down and they'll maybe back off a little bit. They won't go all the way into that because they're not going to endanger themselves. Pennsylvania. Father Fish. No, I don't think so. Right.
That's the challenge, homicidal toast, is finding an LFS, and it's not easy in some places to get them. That's why I say some people are just forced to buy from the big box store, or you order online and have your fish shipped in. That's your other choice if there's nothing around you.
There are reputable guys on the Fish Channel who are selling fish.
Mm-hmm.
You can check on Get Gills. That's where most of them are listed. You know, look around. Aquabid, AQUABID.com. Aquabid.com is a very old auction service, a very reputable place. Now, be careful when you buy there. Look at the reports back from people. Make sure they have a good track record. That seller, almost all do. It's rare that they don't. I was on Aquabid years ago, many years ago, and we'll probably get back on selling a few things.
Yeah.
I don't remember what my numbers were. I was at about 650 plus, and I think I had 2 negatives out of oh golly, several thousand shipments I made over a period of a couple of years. And there are plenty of other people like that. And you can get some real oddball stuff. I mean, some of the really oddball fish are available on Aquabid that you're not going to find anywhere else. You won't even find them in the local. You won't find them in a local shop. Another thing you'll find is you'll find guppy breeders, discus breeders, other breeders who will be selling their bred fish, which are always going to be very special, spectacular fish. So it's okay to do that. You're going to pay extra for shipping, but when you add in the cost of your time and gasoline and travel and everything else,
Stopping for lunch.
yeah, lunch, right? That's comparable to shipping.
Shipping doesn't seem that bad. Yeah. And also, homicidal toast, the same person that we're talking to right now, specifically, they had asked earlier if they could put fast swimming fish in with their turtles. And so I'm assuming you don't want the turtles to eat the fish.
Yeah, there always is that risk. I mean, fish live with turtles. Turtles live with fish. Turtles typically don't catch fish. Occasionally they might, but typically they don't. Typically they'll be able to catch frogs or crayfish or something that moves more slowly or that doesn't move at all. more often they eat dead stuff. They eat plants or they eat dead fish or whatever. You can keep turtles with fish, and it's
Yeah.
cute and it's really fun and it looks neat. Um,
Right.
and it gets to be a bother after a while because they want to climb out. But you can do it, and it's not a problem. One of the fish one of the turtles you can keep effectively, if you get little ones, is mud or musk turtles. They live in the water more permanently. They rarely try to come out. They'll come up for air and go back down. So they're a truly aquatic turtle that lives in the water. They come out to spawn, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to even have a platform for them. Although they'll use it if you have it. But they are more aggressive. They will make a more serious effort to catch
To
fish.
catch them. Yeah. I think Rohan, I don't have the question in front of me, but I think Rohan had asked somewhere in here something about breeding maybe glow Danios with regular zebra Danios, and they will crossbreed.
Yeah,
I know people who have done it. They will crossbreed if that's your question. Yeah.
Well, it's the glowfish is a Danio.
Right.
It's been gene spliced, but
Exactly.
it will.
So
You can easily cross it. Yeah.
Right. It'll breed with regular Danios for sure. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. I mean, you're taking the risk that the turtle might catch an occasional fish, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah. So okay. Oh, yeah. Somebody said that Facebook won't let you buy and sell and trade fish. Yeah. Yeah, they won't. I know that.
925 Trung. Talking about blackout to deal with algae.
Yes. And good morning. Good morning, Roz.
The problem is it works for everything. It'll work with green water. It won't work with diatom algae particularly. It'll work with other forms of algae. It's a way to deal with it. It doesn't solve the problem. What you want to try to do is solve the problem. And the problem is you've got more nutrition in the water column than the regular plants can take up. And so the fallback is algae. Algae is always a fallback position. In other words, rooted plants, stem plants, and so forth take up nutrition quicker and better than algae. But if they can't take it all up, the algae will be there, and it'll take it up. So typically, more plants, more higher order plants, are going to reduce algae.
Yeah. Oh, so sorry. I guess Rohan's question was, can I breed green glowfish with another glowfish of a different color? Sure. You don't know what you're going to get for a color, but there's nothing stopping you from crossing the colors.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what I assume you'll probably get green ones and whatever you cross it with. So if you do green and purple, you'll get green and purple. You might not get the rainbow you're hoping for, but you may get.
Keep in mind as you do this, and I suggest everyone do it, but keep in mind as you do this that there are federal laws precluding you from breeding these fish.
Selling them. Is it stopping you from breeding or stopping you from selling? I'm not sure.
It's an open question.
Yeah. But no, you're right. They are patented.
They're patented. That's right. Yeah. It's a patented fish.
Yeah.
So theoretically, you're legally bound from being allowed to breed these fish, but do it anyway.
I thought they were getting close on the patent coming to an end, weren't they?
I don't think so. I think it's a 99-year patent.
There
was something that happened. There was something that happened.
Something that happened recently, and it made me think.
I think you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that the patent is running out.
Yeah, Seagrass Farms, which has been one of the primary sources of these is no longer selling them, and I believe it had to do with that issue.
No, Master Black, there's no law against breeding fish. The law is against breeding glowfish and certainly selling glowfish. They have a patent on the glowfish. Any other fish, no problem, you can breed. And nobody can stop you from breeding a fish. And as somebody just said, how can you stop the fish? There's no birth control. No, they're going to spawn. I think the biggest thing is whatever you're doing in your house, who's going to know? Nobody's going to fish police you, but it's marketing them. If you think you're going to all of a sudden throw them up on get gills, for instance, don't. You'll get in trouble. You know?
Yeah, I would do that. Right.
Yeah. But you're right. Who can stop you from breeding fish in the house? Nobody. Just be careful, Mark.
Funny
and yeah,
stuff.
some people don't agree with the glowfish, but the glowfish is not. They're not hurting the fish. I know it seems bad.
Right, they're not hurting the fish.
They're not hurting the fish. The color, doesn't come from that. It comes from what? DNA from, is it coral? Something genetics from coral?
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish? I thought it was coral, but okay, jellyfish.
From a jellyfish. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Mr. Bees must have said something about maybe some glow plants, because Master Black is saying Mr. Bees, CPD's glow plants will actually be something interesting to see. I mean, it would.
Blue plant.
Some true live glowing plants.
Yeah, I was all excited about glow bettas. I always thought they ought to do a glow betta until they did it and I saw it, and I was wholly unimpressed.
Well, they picked the ugliest color. Sorry. It's like they come up with a purple one or a pink one. It's just this
green.
And it's not even a pretty green. And frankly, they used more. Now, the betta people don't get upset. I breed bettas too, but mostly it's on veil tails, because obviously they're the toughest ones to play with, and they use them. And somehow it's not that pretty. I don't think.
No, it's really not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they primarily use veil tails. I understand, like I said, I understand why, but anywho, how are we doing on our thumbs up? Does anybody know? Has everybody given Father Fish?
Yeah, we've got 46, 79 watching.
Ooh.
46 thumbs
up. The
up.
reason I say that is because I just pressed the thumbs up button myself.
47.
You get in here, get chat, and you forget.
We got a few jumped up there right quick. 53 went to 53 that quick.
Thank you, everyone. Well, I was one of them.
56 and still climbing, and we're up to 80 watching. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
You bet. Can I keep? Oh, God, here we go. We're done lap. Can I keep my box turtle in a 10-gallon cube with a bristle nose and Chilean sea bass? No. A box turtle is not an aquatic turtle. It is a terrestrial land turtle. It will float, for one thing, and it will eventually drown. So don't put your box turtle in water, in a fish tank. It will be most unhappy.
Yeah. Good morning, Papa Shrimp. Amanda's asking again. I know everybody is really curious how many tanks you're going to be keeping at your house. That's one of the top questions everyone wants to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
What was it?
Amanda wants to know how many tanks you're going to keep at your house. And I said, that's a question that's asked almost every day. Everybody wants to know how many fish tanks you're going to keep.
7 or 8, I think. I'm setting up 7. I'm going to set up for 7. We'll see how it goes. It'll probably stretch out because I'm going to have some 10 gallons that'll go on bottom racks.
Yeah.
So I'll wind up with 20 probably. But I'm going to start with about 7.
And that 20 usually ends up being 40. You know, we know how it works. But your space will limit you. That'll be good. You won't be able to get carried away.
Yeah, it will
Unless
indeed.
you do those gypsy fish tanks I was talking about.
Well, you know what if it works out, I'm going to build a greenhouse. And that'll help run it.
Yeah.
Master Black. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see what they're saying, Master Black. Saying they got confused between the box turtle and tortoise. Gotcha.
Box turtle and a tortoise are both land animals.
Right. TJ found 3 teeny shrimp in my river. They have been in the aquarium for 3 days. Are shrimp hard to breed?
Well, no, they're pretty easy. It's just a matter of being able to keep them alive, and you got to figure out what water conditions they need.
Right.
But I found that wild shrimp are pretty easy to keep. I catch these little grass shrimp all the time. The saltwater are different. The saltwater shrimp seem to be tougher to keep. Don't really know why.
Yeah.
I am going to set up a saltwater tank for seahorses, pygmy seahorses. I hope to get a population of them going, and I will keep shrimp with them because that's a good cleaner animal for seahorses.
I mean, TJ, I've never bred them, TJ, but what I hear from everybody everywhere I go is, make sure they've got some hides, pile up some rocks so they can get in those crevices, the babies and stuff. They need
to be able to get out, right?
Yeah, people that set their tanks up that way seem to breed shrimp like crazy, so I think just having a place for them to get to hide seems to be the key. Maybe
no, Rohan. Tortoises are land turtles. They're not aquatic.
Right.
Turtles is a term that typically is used to describe aquatic turtles, if you will, as opposed to tortoises. Although there are turtles like the ornate box turtle, which is actually, they call it a turtle. It's a land turtle. It's not an aquatic animal. So there's some confusion, but generally speaking, a tortoise is never aquatic. Tortoises are always 100% terrestrial. They may go in the water occasionally to soak up moisture, to drink, to whatever, but they don't live in water or even particularly near bodies of water. It's okay, Rohan. We all mess up routinely.
Well, yeah, I mess up every day. Don't worry about it.
Some turtles like access to land water. Absolutely right. Turtles have flippers, tortoise claws. Except that they're also turtles. That's interesting. Turtles have flippers, tortoise have claws. Turtles also have claws, but they have a flipper foot. It's a webbed foot, as opposed to fingers and toes. Terrapin. A terrapin is. Here you go again. Is a terrapin a turtle? Well, by this definition, it is. But a terrapin is obviously an aquatic animal, lives in the water. Chevy Fish has got it right. Sea turtles belong in the ocean, tortoises on land.
Yeah.
Except at Camp Kennan, Fishing says. Likely true.
Yeah.
Aquafirm. Hello, Aquafirm.
Good morning. Good morning. People keep sneaking in, a couple at a time. Couple at a time.
Donald Drew says, don't do it. That's probably good advice,
whatever it is, don't do it. Obviously, it was something you were talking about. Yeah, just don't do it. You'll be safe. Don't do it.
And Rowan says, feel the glow. A lot of people do. A lot of kids love the glow.
Glowfish. Yeah.
Fish and Tantic says some rodents glow also. I think that's a different issue. I'll tell you what does glow is veiled chameleons.
No, I'm laughing. Kira says, I was almost about to shovel the driveway. Should I not do it? Not if you don't want to, Kira. You just don't do it.
Listen, take the best advice you can get, Kira.
Right.
Glow pants.
Well,
PJ's got glow pants.
Go do your appointment, Roz. Good luck.
Glow chameleons. We have a population of wild veil chameleons about 40 miles south of us here in a little community called La Belle. La Belle, Labelle. It is the home of, this is important, it's the home of a cricket hatchery where crickets and superworms are grown out by the millions. And of course, enough of them have escaped to create a very high population of crickets and superworms in the area. At some point in time, some years ago, veiled chameleons found their way into that population, and their population has exploded to the point where you can drive down a country road in La Belle, and this is a rural town. It's a little country town just south of Fort Myers. You can drive through there at night, shining your flashlight in the trees, and the veiled chameleons will glow. You'll be able to see it, and that's how they're captured. You take a stick and knock them out of the tree, or just reach up and grab them, or climb the tree and grab them, whatever. But they catch them by shining a flashlight down the road, and you'll see the glow. Wherever there's a glow, there'll be a chameleon.
Funny.
I've had lots of.
The body that's glowing, or the eyes that are glowing? You think?
No, it's the body.
The body.
Yeah.
Huh. So Master Black says, Reese says, I've seen small schooling fish in predator tanks. Are they just replacing them as they're eaten? Or is there a species that's either small enough to be ignored or fast enough to evade being eaten? Probably all of it.
I missed.
Well, they're basically saying they've seen schooling fish in predator tanks, and they're just wondering, if they're replacing them as they're being eaten, or are they small enough and fast enough to evade? I say both. Yeah.
Yeah,
both.
Right.
Generally, that's the idea because they're using them sometimes as a cleanup crew and dither fish, and unfortunately, lots of times they don't care if they get eaten.
Yeah, Master Lex talking about the little tiny chameleons. They're less than an inch long. They will never be bred out in captivity. That's not an animal we'll ever see. They're protected, along with all the other chameleons from Madagascar. They're all rigidly protected now. And there are, I saw I saw many of these species about 25, 30 years ago. Things that just shocked me, how stunning and remarkable they were. None of them are available now. Probably most of them are extinct. Just chameleons that look like leaves or look like the bark of trees, just or look desiccated. Just really remarkable animals.
Good morning, Edgar and Howard. Nate Hendrickson, who maybe lives down by you, says there is a population of football-sized toads near you, Father Fish. Do you have
Indeed,
football-sized
there are.
toads?
Ah, yes, there are.
Oh wow! And
I've
heard
never seen one. I've never seen
really?
one. Never have.
Huh?
I just
And
haven't
we're
been in the right place.
in the
Yeah.
right place, yeah. Where Dunlap says glow deer would never get run over. Glow deer.
But I get shot 24 hours a day.
Right. Yeah. True. Good morning, Tony T. And DoorDash. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Kira, Master Black, I want a clone to shovel my driveway.
Right, there you
Yeah,
go.
wouldn't that be handy?
Everyone
Wouldn't
should have.
that be handy?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you have a clone, how do you know which one you are?
Yeah.
Am I me or am I you?
Trident multiplicity, they numbered it.
Are you me or are you you?
Yeah.
How would
That's
you
more,
ever?
but I love that movie. Multiplicity. You have to watch it. So funny. So funny. And there were 3 clones. Yeah, TJ, that's insane. They numbered them. In the year.
Just wanted to make sure you know.
Yeah, 3D print. That's exactly it, Emily. And it's like, who gets to be the boss? Who gets to be the boss of you if you're a clone? I don't know. How's it work?
I read a post that you're going out of
Oh, I am, and you'll see I'm about 2/3 gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, just wander around. Anything you
Exactly,
see.
Chevy Fish. That movie just kills me. I
Everything's
love
perfect.
multiplicity. Kills me. If I'm channel surfing and that's on, I've got about 10 movies I will always stop on, and that is one. Love that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God. You have to. It is
I would.
hilarious. You're not laughing pretty much the whole movie. I can't imagine.
Multiplicity movie.
Yeah, it's Michael Keaton, right? Is the actor, I think. 4 distinct personalities. Have to watch it. Crazy. Crazy funny. Get the chores done. I can't even boss myself around enough to get the chores done. Well, yeah, it is Michael Keaton. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he got an award for that movie, but he should have. That was the best acting ever.
Let's see what else we got here.
You know, just a little bit of fish talk and a little bit of funny talk. You get on clones, you know, get everybody going. We got glow turtles, glow deer. We got glow everything. Toads, chameleons, dogs and cats living together, you know.
Oh. Do I still glow turtles? DoorDash wants to know. Never heard of a glow turtle.
Me either.
That's a new one on me.
Maybe they just think it would be fun. I don't know. So if anybody does have a question, if you can drop it in the chat, we'll try to answer it. We shall try.
Oh, David Phillips says, that's it. My head just exploded.
All right, so Rohan says, my microculture has turned soupy. Will yeast alone suffice? If it's really soupy, like watery soupy, then I would add some more substrate to the top and a little bit of yeast. But don't stir it. Just put a little more stuff on the top. You can keep those going for a long time.
No, we're going out of business. We're done.
I didn't put a date on that last one that I made.
This is our last week, and we're liquidating everything. I don't have any place to put it. Well, best to you. You bet. Bye-bye.
And mine isn't soup. Mine's not soupy yet. Not really soupy.
Yeah, if it's soupy and not moldy, not rotten, then just add some yeast.
Or put just a little more stuff on the top and some yeast if that makes you happy. You can do either.
Oatmeal. Add some oatmeal to it.
Whatever. Yeah, it'll be fine. But it should last. I mean, like that said, that one. I don't know when I showed you that one that I made. It was a while ago. Maybe a couple months ago.
Jean's asking how I'm going to set my new fish room up. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. It's going to have to be kind of in medias res. I'm going to have to do it as I do it. Figure out. I do not have a water source right there at the fish room, so I'm going to have to run a hose around, and it's going to have to come in through a window. But I will be by window, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm thinking about putting a container, about 100-gallon container, at the window to hold water. I'll probably use tubs. I've got some black barrels, 70-gallon barrels. Yeah. I'll probably do that. I don't know. I haven't decided. I haven't even figured out how I'm going to do air yet. I thought I had a little pump that would run about 10 tanks, but apparently it disappeared. I guess it got sold in some box lots or something. But I will do air. I'm going to do sponge filters. I will do water changes, but they're going to be minor. I haven't even figured out yet how I'm going to do my dechlorinated water. Probably do it in barrels and then pump it into the tanks from there. I've still got to work all that stuff out.
So, Father Fish, this was a question, and I wondered about it too. It says, Father Fish, was Gator and the other birds' owner able to take them home? Because, we don't hear Gator in the background.
Yeah, they got taken home Saturday. So, thank God. He closed on his new house and came and picked them up. So,
nice.
Home. So that was nice. They were fun birds. I really very much enjoyed having them.
Yeah.
Gator was especially delightful.
Yeah.
Couldn't handle him. I was not willing to handle him. And there was really no point in my doing it because he wasn't going to be here long enough. He didn't need to get used to me. I didn't need to, put him through that process. He's got enough to handle him, and, that's fine. I was not trying to bond with a bird. I did not want to bond with it because that could screw it up for the owner.
Father Fish, I'm just going to show my microworm culture. This is that one that I set up, I don't know, a few months ago.
Oh, I know. You showed that the other day. That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't showed this for months, but it's the same one. It's not moldy. It's got.
What was that
The
again?
loach,
It's not for sale.
I probably only added yeast to this
do you have anything?
3 times,
Rid of
and
the
it's going strong. So yeah, just put
More-
some stuff on the top, fill them with yeast. You'll be great.
No, really don't. Just add more plants.
Okay, just have
Yeah.
more plants and it'll help.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Judy.
But you can see, Rohan, it's not soupy. But I try to put in it when I start it. I try to make it dry.
That's something I will do. Is set up that culture. That's a great culture.
Like I said, I do not. I replace mine every 3 or 4 months.
Gershom is in the Philippines. Gershom just owned a
Oh, nice.
wrench. Hey, good morning.
Hello. There are a few people in here. There is somebody else in here.
We've got a bunch of dirt needs to go out today.
All right.
And the other is going to be mugs. I've
Okay.
ordered them. They're not in yet.
Well, we can get the dirt out of
I
it.
think this is all dirt. You might check them.
I mean, I have more microworms than I could possibly ever feed out.
There's one here. Here, this. This guy gets 5 orders.
5 orders of
Yeah,
dirt.
5.
It's 5
And the
separate
rest
all in
are-
one bag.
Yeah, the rest are other 1 or 2. Let's get these out
Yep.
this morning if we can.
All right.
Then if we get that taken care of, then
You got a bunch of
we'll be into there,
you got
Right.
and that'll be all the
Background.
dirt stuff.
fish on. Is it did you buy them or are you growing them?
Some more. There are, I think
So-
there may be.
That microworm culture is
Double check that, make sure it's just dirt.
I will.
There may be some plants there.
So this is 10 orders.
something I use to feed baby fish. Like I
Well,
use it to
Yeah,
feed
the
whatever
fry.
I'm growing,
100.
such as betta fry that are just coming out of the nest and starting to freeze swim. I use them on my goldfish.
Make sure we got
This
it.
is taking a while.
Right.
Yes.
And one of the things I like about them is that they don't die in the water column. They'll live for a couple days. So as you have fish that develop, fry that develop different rates, there's always food available to them. They do go to the bottom of the tank, but they'll find them. You can see them down there wiggling. And anyway, that's a culture that I just keep going, and every few months I replace it. But they're very, very small, so really good for
Where's your
newly hatched fry.
I don't.
I
I don't
don't do
know.
catches, things like that,
It's
so they still might be a
small.
little large for some of those fry. But for the things that I raise, like I said, the bettas and
Okay.
They
fish
wanna-
fry
both
or
of these
the
are-
goldfish fry, they work great for me those first
So then these 3 are
3 to
mugs.
5 days. You can feed them out and then move them on to
That's
fry
going to be
shrimp. That's how I like to do my beans.
that's another one, isn't it?
And yes, that is what I put on Chevy's, the active dry yeast.
We're
But
gonna-
seriously,
that's gonna be
I only-
a mug as well.
I've only thrown yeast in there 3 or 4 times in the couple months that I've had it.
Now I
I had
brought
no problems growing
I
it.
had that stuff. I brought it back. Do you have some stickers?
I would grow the microworms, TJ. So you
Of
need to get a microworm
I don't
culture.
think you normally pull them from over there.
Where did I have that printed?
Sometimes buy them online if you look around or whatever. But if not, I think
They're the local guys, I think.
something about cutting a potato in half and stick it in the ground for a few weeks and then you pull it up, and I think that's how you can start a
We're
culture.
lifting out of
It has
them.
to be warm, and I don't know if it's warm there.
I have a few here, probably enough.
There's like 5.
But they're good, like I said, for bettas for
Oh.
the first few days, and then hatch
They're not
fresher.
there anymore, are they? Are they? Oh, great. Okay, super. Okay, good.
Question, do you by any chance have any, neocardinia shrimp?
I mean,
No.
most of what I sell, I just
But
sell
it's
locally.
selected all.
But I have
Yeah,
sold
we
a
just-
lot of my goldfish.
Everything is going. We're selling the
I'm still growing
tanks
them out, and
for $25
It takes-
each.
it takes
set up.
1 to 2 years before you really know what the color's going to be. And so I mostly hung on to what I have and I'm growing them out, so I want to make my choices later on. But eventually, I probably will do something on a website, sell them,
The
but
packs are 25 each.
not
Yeah.
right now.
Except for the 29s, the 15s, and the 20s. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting
I
sidetracked.
don't have white worms, Donald, but I think they're good for, like betta sized fish and like a medium sized fish. I would like to I would like to try white worms. But that's not something I think they're too big for baby fish. I think those are for fish as they grow and they're larger. Yep.
Yeah.
Um
It's infusoria microculture of the
Right.
microworm. Yeah,
And
red worms. They're hard to keep though, in quantity. You probably can do it effectively in smaller quantity.
But and the other thing I have that I never feed out that is good for I think really small fry is the vinegar eels.
Okay, my shoulder is dead.
I think those are small enough for maybe your tetras and danios and those fry, and obviously infusoria. But vinegar eels are good for that. I just find vinegar eels to be a pain in the butt to harvest, so I don't mess with them.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't need them for the things that I raise. If I needed that small food, if I was raising something that needed that small food, then I obviously would do it.
Yeah, it is. I guess it's smaller than microworms.
It's smaller than microworms, but like I said, I don't need it for.
But it's paramecium levels. You can do paramecium as easily.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I see, Amanda. But yeah, I mean, specifically the goldfish thing, it takes a couple of years to get them to the size, and they change color. So you can have something at 3 or 4 months old that it can go both ways. It can look awesome at 3 or 4 months old and then completely changes and could become orange. Or you could have a fish that looks extremely plain and then a year later it's turned into a cool color. So that's why I'm hanging on to most of the ones that I'm interested in. See how they really turn out. Yeah, see, Chevy says she uses white worms for fish over 1 inch, and that's what I suspected because I know people feed them to their adult bettas, so I thought it would have to be a fish that had a little bit of size to it.
Yeah, Rowan is talking about his infusoria culture having a bad odor. It's overproducing nutrients. What you can do with that is take a portion of it out, mix it in with regular water, just kind of separate it out into smaller container or more containers. Dilute it, and it'll get rid of the odor. You don't. The odor is a function of there being a lot more vegetable matter in there rotting than is actually needed. It does produce culture. Unfortunately, it also produces bacteria. That's what you're smelling is the bacteria. So you want to reduce that and just take portions of it out and put it in other containers. And you can get half a dozen containers going. There will be no odor. Don't overdo the nutrition. 1 lettuce leaf in a quart jar is more than adequate. Doesn't take a lot.
So Aquaforce says they're trying to prep for wild fish collecting soon, but unable to find the huge nets like I've seen Father Fish use. Any ideas where to find those? The big nets you collect with?
Yeah, I can get them, and I can just send me an email. It's something I'll probably at some point provide. There's another net I plan to build that will have limited application, but it's astounding. It's a 6-foot wide push net.
Okay.
That would not have a lot of application. You'd have to be able to use it in larger grass flats.
Okay.
But yeah, those those nets are available. They're hard to get, and the back order on them is usually about 6 months, 3 months anyway. It's hard to get them.
Yeah.
There are not many people making them. Is the problem.
Mr. B CBD says, just checked some fry I put into my 10-gallon dirt and deep substrate setup. Didn't feed yet, and their bellies look full.
Well, they're going to be for a while. If it's a lot of fry, they're going to pretty well deflate that food population. So you're going to need at some point, very likely, you're going to need to be adding food to it. And the microworm is the perfect food to add, or baby brine shrimp, or little Daphne.
Yeah.
But,
Any of this. I just personally like the microworms because they last in that water column for a few days, so they're not dying and rotting.
have you noticed them die? Have you noticed them dying in water?
No, because they'll live like 24, 48 hours, and by then, the fish have eaten them. But I mean, if you put in an excessive amount, sure, they wouldn't eat that many, and they would die in the water column eventually. But they'll last, in my experience, like I said, 24, 48 hours. So it's great. You can put them in there. I mean, you can take a magnifying glass and you can see the whole bottom will be wiggling. And I'm talking about putting in, I mean, I don't even put in about maybe a half a pea, maybe, of a little dollop of them in, and it'll cover like a 4 or 5 inch area. If you look with a magnifying glass, the whole bottom is swimming. I mean, they go a long ways. So I guess, again, the key is not to overfeed, but put in an amount that'll be there for a little bit. So you have to learn as you go. But yes, I mean, any food source eventually dies.
A few more. I've been using them because we ran.
Whip swirl. I always want to do black orandas, but I can't find them. You find the stacking behind you locally. Okay, so
how much you're putting in.
Yeah, I would just go buy some.
All right.
Here. Okay, these in particular are single-tailed goldfish. They're not orandas, but it's the same situation where you can go to a store and find some, and you probably, like anyone, you start out with some lesser quality. I did, and then eventually, you have to get online and look for different sources.
Is that what you're using to sell fish?
I don't.
I'll see if I can slide lock
the fancy goldfish, so I can't tell you 100% where to look. And I would have sent you to Dandy Oranges, but they're not in business anymore. I think
I'll get some more for you.
I think King Koi Goldfish is online, and they sell fancies.
You sell all the too?
You could look there.
The tubes?
But you're definitely going to have to get online to find a good source.
Otherwise, I think it's good.
I just need to grab
otherwise it's packed up.
Unless, I won't say that stores don't get good quality, but you have to use your own judgment at that point.
We're all out of everything.
Basically, I've never seen a black Miranda for sale in a local pet shop.
Find them.
I think you will have to go online. Find it. If anybody else knows the source, throw it in here. I know these guys aren't really close. I think sometimes it's hard to tell that they're single tails and they're not fancy goldfish. But it's the same thing, finding a good quality anything. You have to look around. You have to either find a breeder or a place that, imports good ones.
What are you talking about?
They were asking where to find black Oranda goldfish.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I think King Koi in California, I think they sell a lot of fancy goldfish.
Yeah, there's a new one in Texas that's real good.
Oh, yeah. What's that called?
It's called Living Waters, I think.
Living Waters. I was going to say water something. Yeah, Living Waters. So, yeah, just get online. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, Herb and C. Yeah, it says, I used to have a black Oranda, but it turned completely white after 4 to 5 months. That's the problem with black in general. Good morning, Maple Street. That's the problem with black in goldfish and even black moors. A lot of black moors eventually turn orange. That's why when I have one like this black and white comet, where this fish is like 3 or 4 years old and she's still black and white, that's a keeper because black is tough.
All right,
After
501.
the CBDs, after not feeding my 75 for 3 days, my Siamese algae eaters have black beard mustaches. Funny. Funny.
Terrible memory. Olive.
Meteorites.
Meteorites.
Yep.
Got it. Do I need to sign anything?
Oh, nope. Let me see if I have any.
Blackbeard mustaches, yes, so that's funny.
Are we out of algae scrape?
Yeah, no, I get it, Whip Swirl. I mean, I think just a lot of people see these
Well,
tails
I
swimming,
think
their
about-
fancy tails, and they always think they're fancy goldfish, but they're shabunkas and conets. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sign
No,
off.
you're right, Chevy Fish. I just don't know if Amanda's breeding anything right now. And I don't know if she's breeding anything black. And the last thing I talked to her about, she'd had some bubble eyes, I think, is the last thing she mentioned that she had bred that I know of. We can ask him that question when it comes to back fish and tank tubes. I know he loves the natural light. I think it's going to depend upon where he can put his tanks in the house. I'm sure he'll try to get them into the natural light if he can, but it depends on the room. Because he had mentioned even in his store, I think he said he only had 2 windows, and he would have liked to have had natural light all those years, but the windows are the windows. Good morning, D&M Remix.
Yes, I'm going to use. Well, that's interesting. Fishing is asking me if I'm going to set up tanks using
We were just talking
natural
about
light.
it.
I'm going to try. Unfortunately,
that's what I
the room they're growing in is blocked by trees. But I'm going to try as much as possible, yes.
Yeah.
And eventually I'll build a greenhouse. And that, of course, will be natural light. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I really want to do it.
Yeah. So Jeff, that's why I ended up with single-tail goldfish was I just got tired of watching when I would go into stores and stuff looking at the fancy goldfish, and quite often they were, nose down in the corner, swimming sideways, having buoyancy issues, and I didn't love it. I didn't love watching them. It always seemed like they were struggling in some way to me. And though I think they are beautiful, they are. I didn't like the overall health and the way they swam. So when I got my first 2, I literally just bought 2 feeder, goldfish out of the feeder tank, picked out a couple pretty ones. But I just prefer the way these guys swim, and then like anything, and their overall health, and then like anything, if you breed it long enough and keep picking specific traits, you can make it pretty. And so that's how I've ended up here. But I like watching my fish being able to swim, so that's why I do single tails.
Go to Precious Tranquilities.
Yeah.
She has a
Put
video.
up her page. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got some videos there of arandas in open water that are really spectacular. She has one of the nicest selections of aranda and other fancy goldfish of anybody around. And she does sell some, not a lot, but some. So you can.
Like I said, the last time we talked to her, she was breeding those bubble eyes. Remember that night we talked to her?
Yeah. She also works with the living waters, so she can direct you to them as well if you're interested. It's a good source.
And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying anything against them. I'm saying that's my personal choice. That's how I ended up here. But nothing against fancy goldfish or anybody that breeds them. You know, we all have our personal choice.
You bet.
I keep mine around the room temp, so it's like 73-ish. But when I'm breeding them, I raise the fry at 80. And how many times? Okay, Father Fish, close your ears. I feed mine twice a day.
Well, these are big fish. They're not little tiny fish.
And obviously, I'm not overfeeding. My tank's not filthy. They are not doing crazy things. So, yes, I feed them twice a day, but, I figured out how much to feed. So you have to play with it.
Yeah.
You have to get to a level that works. And if I was just keeping them, I might feed them once a day, but because I am breeding them, I choose to feed mine twice a day. So keep that in mind. If you're just keeping pets, or if you're just keeping them as pets, you can split it into 2 meals, but maybe take the 1 meal and split that amount into 2 meals. Especially if they're Arandas, because you don't need to overload their intestines with, a big meal.
This is kind of interesting. At 10:25, Herp Diversity says I really don't like fancy goldfish. They look miserable. And then Chevy Fish retracted her response to that. Chevy Fish is a very genteel person. And then Herb Diversity said, my personal opinion only, to which Chevy Fish said, same here. And
that's why I try to make it very clear. What I'm saying is my personal opinion. I'm not saying anything against anybody that keeps them and has learned how to keep them well, because obviously many people do. I'm talking about being in the pet store looking at those fish that are miserable.
Struggling.
Yeah, I'm not talking about people that keep them well and breed them and all of that. I'm just talking about, when I walk in a Petco and they're like, I just don't like it,
Yeah, I would never buy them. I've got a few here now I need to sell that are nice. They're not high quality, but they're very nice. They're pretty big.
Yeah, I own 6 sort of fantails, whatever I call them, little fish that I rescued that looked, not great. I rescued one. It doesn't have the best, what's the conformation, but I rescued it out of a koi tank. It was in there as a shabunkin, and it was just getting sort of beat up, and I bought it because I realized it had a double tail. So I have like 6 of them. I bought one of the chocolate pom-pom ones, and the fish were eating the pom-poms off. So, I mean, I own 6 of them and keep them because I felt bad for them. So I brought them home.
We need to lock this down, guys.
Yep, it's 10:30.
10:30, right. Got 77 thumbs up, 71 currently watching.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice to have you all with us. All righty. Well, let's see if I can get this music back up. It's such a neat song, and I love it.
Thank you. You playing the Karuna Karen song again?
I am, yeah.
It's a nice song.
It will always, for me, be the best kind of memories of my shop.
Good morning, Aquatic Nest.
He found lots of pictures. Lots of pictures of my shop.
Really good job researching.
It's amazing. Just beautiful. So much appreciated. Let's see. All right, thank you guys. Good to be with you all.
Mm-hmm.
God bless.
Bye bye. Thanks for coming in. Have a great day.
Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chevy. Hi, Pam. I need you to come in. Hi.
Bye-bye, everybody. Love you all.
Hi, Lynn.